pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call the Lamar City Council regular meeting for Thursday, July 6th, 2023 at 12 p.m. to order. We'll start with a roll call, please.
Goodchild.
Here.
Donlin.
Yes.
Wick.
Yes.
Sturgeon.
Here.
Bruns.
Here.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Starting with general discussion, this is the open forum for citizens that have attended the meeting to discuss anything that's on the agenda, and I would encourage anybody that has an opinion to step up to the microphone and give their name and address so that we know who you are and that you live in the city. And we're gonna, because of the number of people in the room, we're gonna do a 4-minute time period for each one, and I'll start a timer and just try to keep your comments brief and to the point. So, go ahead.
I don't think I'm here to talk about what everybody else is talking about. I wanted to come in and address the fireworks show the other night. Had a few phone calls. We did have a mishap during the community city celebration. We had a firework that detonated in one of the tube racks coming out of the tube. So it didn't get to the air where it was supposed to, and it destroyed one of the racks, and that happens. And it tipped the rack over and fired another one up towards the emergency personnel that were on the south end. So there was a little delay there where we had to go down and put the fire out in the rack of explosives, which is a little nervous. And we disconnected that and hooked up the rest of the show and finished the show. That's the second time in 15 years I've had that happen in my career. It's just what happens. Some of those are duds, you just don't know it until they detonate, not where they're supposed to, which is up in the sky. But that's why we have the distances out there. Some people have asked us why we rope off such a big area at the fairgrounds and stuff. Well, there's a prime example of why we do that, to keep everybody as safe as we can. The people who were doing the fireworks program had some damage to their pull trailer, their box trailer, put about 5 holes in it from the frag of the debris of the device. But everybody was okay, nobody was hurt. We continued on with the show. I will tell the council that was the last year of our 3-year contract with J&M at that price. Next year, we'll hopefully have a bigger show for the citizens, which was approved by the council this last budget. And we'll be working with J&M, who's been our supplier for about 30 years, on putting together another contract for those fireworks shows at the request of the council. So I just wanted to dispel any rumors or anything going on. I had about 15 calls. Hey, Chief, what happened? The light's not supposed to be that close to the ground when they go off, right? And I said, no, it's not supposed to be. Other than that, fireworks, I just want to remind the public that's over now. Our discharge dates are 3rd, 4th, and 5th, so the date's the 6th, so you shouldn't be discharging fireworks in the city limits anymore. We had several complaints. We had a couple fires. Not as bad as it could have been, but I just want to remind people that, as we talked about before, I'm not against fireworks, but the people who don't follow the rules or respect their neighbors and things like that, that's when we get phone calls. And so I just want to remind people that it is a good thing, so don't ruin it. Thank you.
I would imagine the nice rain helped things out.
Loved the rain. Thank you.
Anyone that had leftover fireworks, you can use them at New Year's.
There you go.
Another session at New Year's. So.
Yep. All right, next, anyone else here? Go ahead. You're good.
I'm Roberta Bundy. I'm with my husband here today. We live at 1280 Adler Drive on the east edge of town. My husband and I have lived in Lamar's in the same home for 35 years. And like many others, we enjoy spending as much time outdoors from spring through the fall. 6 years ago, our next door neighbor took up beekeeping as a hobby. For us, this has caused us a lot of stress and inconvenience, and has taken away the enjoyment from our outdoor living space. Beginning the first part of spring, when the bees come out, of the hives from the winter. They invade our back door, driveway, patio, looking for standing water. There are numerous bees, and they follow you coming out of your house if you can open the door. They follow us to our cars. They get in our face and stuck in our hair. They chase us if we try to avoid contact, and we have been stung numerous times. This has affected us greatly. Washing vehicles, working on vehicles in the driveway, watering plants, working in the garden and the yard, entertaining friends and family on our patio. Coming home and leaving, mowing the lawn, loud noises agitate them. Not to mention the bee excrement on our vehicles, house, and our patio furniture. City limits is no place for beekeeping. It's just too close to neighbors. We have a right to enjoy our space and not be infringed upon. Please take this into serious consideration. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Hi there.
Jeff Murin, 811 Park Road. Here to talk about the chickens that are across the fence in my backyard. Some of them are still there. They have to go. I don't like the smell. I'm getting feathers in my yard. I know 4 of you, I've talked to 4 of you quite a bit, so ain't a lot I really need to say. You know how I feel about it. I do feel you wasn't stern enough with her. It's been way too long, you know. I don't understand why the fines wasn't thrown at her right off the bat when they should have been. And, you know, my girlfriend's been calling, a couple of you didn't call her back, which I think that's not a really good deal for whoever you are that didn't do that. And, you know, the 4 I talked to, they did call me back, I appreciate that, but this has gotten way out of hand. And it seems like she's kind of been running the show and she's the one violating the order. Seems like she had more rights than the people that you know, just going along with the order. I don't understand. And I don't like them back there. Her yard was looking terrible. She wasn't taking very good care of them. And, you know, I don't really need to say a lot. But our street affects, I think, 13 houses. I've lived here for 2 years. There's, I think, three of them I haven't talked to. But most people on my street don't want them there. And I would like someone to explain to me, if you could, why it's been so long when June 15th was the date.
I've already told you all that, Jeff. Over here. I've already told you all that. I told you and Debbie that, why it's taken so long.
I understand that.
So,
But if she has a deadline and you kept giving her time and giving her time.
I told you
and
why,
giving her
I
time.
told you why I wasn't going by the 15th. Okay, I also explained to you that, the legal parameters and that we've got to make sure we have right and making sure we have the process right before we just go over there and grab chickens. Okay, I explained that to
You
you
did.
numerous times on the
Where
phone.
does my rights and the neighbor's rights come into play here?
Yep, that's what we're dealing with, Jeff, okay? We're dealing with that.
I would suggest as it pertains to bees or chickens, any private citizen has a private right as against their neighbor, and it has nothing to do with the city. As it pertains to bees, they are not considered livestock under our ordinance currently. So there's no city ordinance that affects the bees. The chickens there is. They were given a written notice till tomorrow. If they're not removed tomorrow, a civil infraction will be served upon the property owner. Then the legal process takes hold from there. So
Okay.
that's the process.
If the ordinance was there, she already had them before she even came and talked to you. So when she said she had them, why didn't you say they gotta go right now?
Did. She was sent a letter, that's where you're getting the 15th.
Well, she told me in the backyard that you guys sent her a letter. They had to be gone by June 15th.
Yep,
Or she's gonna get these really steep fines.
yep, yep. I told you that, and then before the 15th came, she has a right by our code to come before the council and the council either deny it or accept it. Okay, so at that point, I told you the 15th was no longer relevant, okay? Because she was denied her request to have the chickens on the 20th by the council, okay? So that I told you, the 20th is the day I'm going by, okay? I'm not going by the 15th.
All right, so we're gonna go be sitting on July 7th. How many days is it?
I told you and I explained to you why I gave her the 7th.
Yeah, you told me because
We're
her
rehashing
boyfriend
all
was
this
talking
stuff.
loud in the back when you were on speakerphone, and he said he'd get rid of them on the 7th. And you agreed to that because
Yep.
y'all was gonna be off for the holiday.
Yep.
Why didn't you just say, hey, they gotta go before that? I mean, she just keep giving her time and giving her time and giving her time.
Okay.
And it ain't gonna surprise me if she doesn't make y'all come get them herself.
Well, that's fine.
Or y'all gonna have to probably go get them.
We'll be-
Which
we'll
will
be
take
prepared
even,
to do
which will
that.
take even more time. Okay, because we filed a civil infraction, we have to get a court date. We can't just go on someone's property and take their things. That's, you know, the last guy was here about personal freedoms and the Constitution. I mean, we can't do that. Law enforcement can't do that, okay? I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you about it. We have a civil infraction petition ready to be filed, but she has until tomorrow, okay? So tomorrow, we're gonna send a city person there to see what we have, and then we're gonna take the next step.
So how was he gonna be able to go on her
Thank you,
property?
Jeff.
You can knock
Well,
on
you
the
can go to the
front
front door.
You can knock on the front door and
I
ask.
did want to say one thing though before he goes. A couple of things. I do work in courts, so I know what Mike's talking about. Even if you have like a nuisance abatement or something along those lines, they have to get a court date, there's a process, so it might not be the next day. The last thing though is, you said you talked to 4 of us. I didn't talk to you, and I did not return calls. So if there's some miscommunication, I apologize.
The people
I'm not
I
trying to
talked to-
avoid talking to anybody.
The people I talked to did return my calls.
Well, and I would have if I had a call to return. I didn't know you existed until you came up to the podium. So
And if I could add.
I'm open to calls all the time.
If I could add one thing before you leave, I talked to you multiple times. The one thing, I understand your frustration fully, but I will say that, to jump off subject for just a second, when I get my annual police report from our police department, they give out 75% warnings and 25% tickets. Because we don't believe, since I've been up here, the city does not believe in a hardcore, stiff-fisted ordinance. We want cooperation. We're not after the fine. We want obedience. And I think that's what's been trying to be exercised. Clearly, it's not being received well. I'll give you that. But I think that's one of the postures administration has taken with this, is let's try to handle this privately. If it's not working, you've got a point. So I just wanted to say that. I don't believe in stiff enforcement. If I got a police report that said we give 80% tickets and 20% warnings, I'm gonna think, you know what, that's just a little bit hardcore. But it's not, it's the opposite, 75 and 25.
But
So-
you did tell me, sir, that you were gonna stand strong on this and not backing down, and to me, all I've seen
Absolutely,
was
and
backing
when my
down.
city attorney says, this is the legal way we're gonna go, I'm gonna listen to him every time.
I can assure you that it's on our radar. I mean, we're moving forward with it if we have
So
to.
you're saying if she ain't got them gone by tomorrow, there's still gonna be more time left that she has to get rid of them?
She could hire a lawyer and drag it out for a very long time
That's
if she wanted to.
Yeah, I don't want to be
I don't-
confrontational,
Yeah, I
Jeff.
don't-
but I
I'm
was-
not being confrontational.
No, I didn't want to be. I didn't-
Unfortunately, it's
I don't
the
want
world
to
we
be
live in.
confrontational with you, but we had covered this. I told you that there was a process that we got to make sure we do right. I understand whatever date you want to put out there. I know they're still there this morning because I saw them. I know they're still there. So I know we want to work with people, but I feel over the last week and a half, ever since the 20th, I feel like we're getting lied to. So when you say I think she's in control, I feel the same way, because I've been told numerous things, and so far I've gone along with it. And I know I gotta be patient, but it's gotta come to an end. But anyway, so I understand your frustration in that neighborhood, I do. I've told you over the phone, I don't want chickens in town either. So we'll do what we have to do the legal way to resolve it. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Just remember, when you all walk out that door and you look down Central down there and you see ice cream capital of the world, then think about chickens in people's backyards.
Hi, I'm Ruth Atkin and I live at 809 Park Road. I'm against allowing chickens in Lamar's. I grew up on a farm where chickens were raised. There is an unpleasant smell with chickens that attracts flies and bugs. The grounds where chickens are becomes unproductive for plant growth. You also need to clean up hall manure after them, and how are you going to do that in town? Where would you take it? What's in your lawn would run off into the neighbor's yard, and who wants that? Where would you put them in the winter months? I encourage the city council to leave the city ordinance as it is. No chickens allowed in the city limits. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Debbie Hollinger, and I also live at 811 Park Road. Changing the city ordinance to allow chickens within the city limits of Lamar's is a bad idea and would be very irresponsible. Raising chickens in your backyard may sound like fun to some, but it comes with some serious health risks. Chickens carry bacteria like Salmonella, Campylobacter, Listeria, E. coli, and more recently, the avian flu. Chickens carry parasites like tapeworms, roundworms, coccidia, and fleas, to name a very few. These bacteria and parasites can infect humans and or your pets and rodents, which would put the entire community at risk. Chickens will attract rodents, insects, and other pests. Between the chickens themselves, their eggs, the feed and water, and their cozy nests that go with them, they will attract flying insects, mice, rats, snakes, possums, foxes, and coyotes, among others. Do you think these pests will only be interested in the chicken coop? No. They'll be a nuisance for all the homes in the area. The entire city could be infested with rodents, insects, and vermin on a scale we've never seen before. And what about their waste? One chicken produces 2 pounds of manure each week. Where is that supposed to go? Into the garbage? Into a compost pile? I doubt if anyone is going to load up that waste into the back of their SUV and haul it away. And even if they did, to where would they haul it? If the city council should decide to amend the current ordinance and allow chickens, there are a few things that they will be responsible for that don't immediately come to mind. Licensure. Each backyard flock would need to be licensed, and the coop would need to meet established requirements to prevent animal suffering and assure human safety. Certification that chicken owners have safe egg handling protocols in place, and establishing a system to trace where the eggs go from those backyard flocks. Waste disposal. Remember that 2 pounds of manure per bird per week? Where's that gonna go? With the regular garbage that's collected every other week? Or will it be picked up by a special truck? Will it go to the landfill? Will there be an extra charge for that? And how will dead birds be disposed of? Code enforcement. Someone is going to have to check on these backyard flocks from time to time to make sure their coops are still up to spec, that they haven't increased the size of their flock to an unacceptable number, and that they are keeping records on where they are distributing their eggs. There will be complaints that will need to be properly investigated and appropriately addressed. Something that we've had a little trouble with here lately. All these things will require additional hours on the job for city staff, and quite possibly additional staff, taking up more time and money from city resources. And is that really where we want our limited resources to go? If the city allows chickens, they will also assume some responsibility for what happens with those flocks. What if someone's chickens freeze to death in inadequate shelters? What if someone gets sick or dies from foodborne illness from the backyard eggs that your neighbor is so generously sharing with you? What if the children in the households where these chickens live get sick from playing in the backyard and stepping in the manure? What if the general population gets sick from bacteria or parasites that originate in one of these backyard flocks? The city could and would be held at least partially liable for any of these scenarios. I know the city council members are tired of hearing about this issue, but it is something that needs to be considered. The rights of the ordinance-abiding citizens of Lamar's need to be taken into consideration. Lamar's has never allowed chickens within the city limits before, and they should not allow them going forward. The city ordinance was originally enacted to protect the citizens and keep Lamar's a pleasant and healthy place to live. Those reasons remain. The only thing that has changed is now we have a generation of people that think the rules don't apply to them. Please do not change the ordinance. Please keep all forms of livestock out of Lamar's, and I might add bees to that list. Thank you.
Are we still under just citizens discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody want to talk about anything other than chickens? Like there's a funding request on here that maybe should be addressed?
Do you want us to talk about that during this
We
portion
can
or later?
talk about it during the,
Okay. Yeah, we can do that during the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Delana, do you want to talk about chickens?
I do, but I was gonna do it under action item. I can sure do it now. It doesn't
Yes,
matter.
please.
Okay.
Let's get the chicken discussion.
And I actually made, so just to make this quicker, because
We're gonna do 4
Delana
minutes,
Erkey,
I'm
6:30, oh, go ahead and start the timer. 'Cause I actually brought my cheat sheet so that I can just give them to you. Delana Erkey, 613 3rd Avenue Southeast. And been here, done this before. But so just real quick, I know that what I read on it, there was also indication, obviously, leave it as it is for now, is the easiest way to go. However, I know there was mention that there's some thought that the state may push the issue. And if that's the case, and we're forced into doing something like this, what I just gave you are just some of my thoughts after reading the ordinance. I mean, it's like with everything else, whether it's barking dogs or, you know, fence setbacks or whatever.